the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
I don't know where he goes, but good preseason from him. Evan, we have to start with you. How are you?
I'm broken, defeated, tired, sad, not surprised, not confused. If you've been a 49ers fan, what I'd like to call the second generation 49ers fan, right? There was essentially what I call BR, right? Before rings. So, if you think about like 1998, 2003, right? It was really before, 95, I'd say, before rings. That was the good times, right? That was what your father's 49ers fans remembered. The two best quarterbacks, one of, two of Steve Young's. I can't do this, dude. I'm so annoyed right now. Dog, we literally traded 3 first-round picks and a third-round pick for nothing. Literally nothing. And all anyone wants to say is, well, the team's still good. Like, no one can just in good faith talk about how earth-shatteringly terrible that trade was. How that because Kyle Shanahan is a good offensive play caller, they just absolve him from the worst trade of maybe the entire 21st century.
Ooh. I don't know if I'm there.
Here's my thing.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to talk about all these bad trades and they're not even the 40. The problem that I have is we're not done yet. Everyone's like, oh, well, Trey Lance is gone. Yeah, but it's not the worst trade ever. The 49ers are about to make Nick Bosa the highest paid defensive player in the NFL. They already have Fred Warner, George Kittle, Trent Williams, all those contracts locked up. They still are going to need to pay Brandon Ayuk, which they might not be able to. They were going to need those 3 first-round picks for really anything, but certainly for young, talented rookie players that would be cheap. The 49ers could have potentially, with the right first-round draft picks, won 1, 2, 3 Super Bowls. How many Super Bowls with the right picks over the course of those 3 years, right? Because they were only a Jimmy Garoppolo sale to Emmanuel Sanders away from a Super Bowl, right? They were 1 interception from Jimmy Garoppolo away from going to the Super Bowl again, which they very well could have won too. Everyone wants to talk about just the Trey Lance. Well, yeah, it was a bad trade, but you guys are good now. Well, that window just got immensely smaller and tighter because you take all of your resources and you trade it for a quarterback. Troy Smith has more snaps for the 49ers than Trey Lance.
That is
kind of hilarious.
That is brutal.
I'm
Troy
also
Smith.
not going to pretend that I remember that Troy Smith was a 49er. My only recollection of Troy Smith is a Raven. I did not know he was a Niner.
Yo, yeah, trust me. I remember. 49ers fans remember because that was
Great college
really,
quarterback.
Yeah. Okay. I hate it. I hate this circumstance because Kyle Shanahan has created this little insulated bubble where he is completely without getting criticized. He's got John Lynch as his little GM who, if anything goes wrong, you're like, well, he's not the GM, even though Kyle's the GM. Kyle's clearly making all of these decisions. And then you have an assistant GM under John Lynch, who's really the person that's probably making a lot of the picks, and Adam Peters doing a lot of the work, right? Adam Peters is a very, very good GM. Probably why they're getting all these great picks in the 5th round, the 6th round, or the last round, or the last pick of the entire draft. So Trey Lance got traded to the Cowboys for a 4th round pick. There is nowhere a 49ers fan would have wanted him to go less. It's not even I remember when I right away I was like, oh, that's actually a decent spot for him. And then like I had 3 seconds to emotionally think about that. Like, no, that's a terrible spot. Not only is Trey Lance not going to be a 49er, he's got to go to the Cowboys and sit under he's QB3 behind Cooper Rush. You said he's going to back up Dak. He's not backing up Dak. He's backing up Cooper Rush. And then he has Schottenheimer and Mike McCarthy as coaches.
Well, Dak was out here calling plays this week, so it might be Dak OC.
You know what else Dak was saying in interviews?
Yeah,
Politely, why the hell did they?
Dak was not happy.
No,
not happy.
He was very unhappy.
Can I say this though in defense of Kyle and John?
Yeah,
oh boy.
Sure, bro.
So
They
here's
need
one of the
all
things
help
that I
they
think's
can get.
funny, where the overreaction, because everyone's got the takes and everyone's ready to just unleash fury. Because it felt like this was building. Like we all kind of knew this was going to be the end result here, was that Trey was not going to be the guy here long term. And I've said this from the moment Brock Purdy was good at the end of last year, where I was like, that ship has sailed. He's carrying himself as QB1. He's too good. They're not going to move off this kid until he fails. And maybe they keep Trey around long enough to get another shot because Brock Purdy fizzles out. But I had a hard time believing that they were going to go back. I had a hard time believing it. Moving that aside, though, when people talk about Kyle and John, and you mentioned that Kyle is one of the best play callers in football. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's been to 3 of the last 4 NFC title games. He has hired extremely well. They have hired DCs extremely well. Offensive staff. They made great trades. Trent Williams has been a huge contributor. They add Hargrave this offseason. You drafted well. You've drafted Fred Warner. You've drafted Hufanga. You've drafted George Kittle. You've made a great trade in McCaffrey. That was a big swing, and it's worked out. You drafted Debo, and that's worked out really well. Brandon Ayuk looks like a good player. That's another good win. I mean, I think by and large, he and this front office, Peters and company, have hit on so many other things. Bosa, obviously, being the biggest one, where it's like they have
That's
hired
not the
well.
biggest one even remotely well.
And
That's
That
the
was,
least
he was like
impressive.
a 3rd overall pick.
well,
He
no,
was the
I mean, look
third-
at Chase Young. It's gone the other way with Chase Young in
No,
Washington,
they
and he
could've
was a better.
Chase Young shredded his entire knee.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, like, still, he does, like, they took Nick Bosa, and Nick Bosa's been awesome. So what I'm saying is, like, you could have picked somebody else. You didn't have to pick Nick Bosa. You could have picked somebody else. It's not like they had to do that. But what I'm saying is, like, ultimately, the reason Kyle and John have a job is because they are still one of the best well-run teams and well-run organizations in the sport that missed on a quarterback who hadn't gotten really any college snaps, that we hadn't seen a lot, who was always going to be the biggest wild card. But it reminds me of, like, hey, this is probably the hardest one to hit on. Like, this is one of the most difficult things to nail is the franchise quarterback. And they have nailed so many other positions and so many other spots that, like, if you move on from them, that's insane, because this is an insane run that they're on, and they have a dynasty. I understand no titles, but they have the NFC on lock and have had it on lock for
you want to
half a
say
decade
dynasty.
now.
I was going to let you finish, but you said dynasty. JP, you're the youngest one here, right?
Uh-huh.
What's the name of the head coach for the Bills that lost 4 Super Bowls? Nobody else say it.
I know.
I know you know. No.
Oh.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Oh, you're telling me you don't know? He went to 4 Super Bowls. That's
Jarrett,
right.
do you know?
No
Yes, I know.
one,
It's Mark Levy.
no one knows or cares about a guy that almost did it.
I think
So,
Bills fans
and
love him.
And
I
also,
like
pretty
Mark
good.
Levy.
Yeah, he was great.
We can't
No,
really
I'm
call
not
them a
talking. I'm
dynasty.
not talking about
because,
whether or not Bills fans like him. You're like
I
over
mean,
here.
even with
The
even
whole
with this
point. Hold on. The whole
comparison.
point of this is you cannot laud Kyle Shanahan the way that you want to do it for Andy Reid or Bill Belichick.
Wait, why not? It took Andy Reid 15 years.
We used to talk about Andy Reid like
Yeah,
this
this
until
way.
he got Patrick Mahomes and won a Super Bowl. When he was
And you saw how hard it was for Andy Reid to get a quarterback
That's why
like
they got rid of him. in
I
Philadelphia.
understand, but I understand that. But my point is Kyle hasn't won yet.
Yeah.
And it seems if anyone has watched Kyle with the 49ers, the common denominator for what he's going to need is a quarterback. So if you're going to trade up with 3 first-round picks to get a quarterback, maybe make sure you know what you're doing, because if your goal is to pick a quarterback who is, of all of the ones available, the biggest project, maybe sit down for 5 minutes and go, do we have the patience for a project? what is the worst case scenario? If it takes 3 years, can we wait 3 years?
You know what
How
should have
did-
happened? Matt Ryan should have followed Kyle immediately to San Francisco.
No, what
That
should
trade
have
should have happened.
What should have happened is Trey Lance should have started from day one.
Mm.
I think the biggest thing here, first of all, multiple things can be true. This was the dumbest trade. This is the worst trade in modern NFL history.
Agreed.
Just mainly off of the fact that you traded 3 first-round picks for a guy who didn't play bad. He just didn't play. I think that's the thing that hurts the most. He did not play a game or multiple. He did not start for a whole season, whether that be because of injury or just because he was shit out of luck. He didn't play. It's the worst trade in modern NFL history. Second of all, the other thing that can be true is the Niners are probably going to be fine in the short term. That's just because of the insulation that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have built for this team. The biggest thing here is Kyle Shanahan has shown with the quarterbacks that he's worked with, the quarterbacks that he hasn't. He wants control. He wants to user NPC this quarterback. Trey Lance was not going to do that. I said it on Twitter when it happened. The whole timeline is so weird to me because they saw Josh Allen obliterate their team in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Where like they wanted a Josh Allen style of quarterback, someone who did not need to be Madden usered. Like you're playing Madden 23, 24, whichever one just came out. So you go and get Trey Lance, a guy that hasn't played a lot, but you sit him. The biggest reason we have Josh Allen now is because Josh Allen from 2018, who stunk at football, existed. Of course, there's no precedent for what happened with Josh Allen. You can't replicate that. But if you're going to do it, you need to let the guy play. You cannot be scared of him failing, and you cannot be scared of the offense suffering as a result of that. He's already going to have a job. He'll be fine. But the way that they've insulated this offense and the way that they've insulated this team, their belief is that, yeah, Kyle can just user NPC this quarterback all the way to a Super Bowl, which I'm questioning because Brock Purdy, I don't know if Brock Purdy can do it. I'm sorry. We saw 7 games of him, and I still don't think Brock Purdy is like, you're hitching this entire function to Brock Purdy. If you don't win a Super Bowl in this window because you hitched your wagon to Brock Purdy, it will be one of the biggest failures.
You know what the biggest problem that I have with that is too? And I understand Trey wanted a trade, right? Trade is like, get me out of here. You guys do this to me, get me out of here. I understand that. But when you have immediate data that you can go back on, you can go, Jimmy Garoppolo played an unbelievable 5 games when they first traded for him against really good teams, right? The Titans at the time, the Jaguars, etc. And they signed him, made him the highest paid quarterback in the league at that moment. Everyone thought it was a great deal. Everyone thought, and then something happened, and we all know the Jimmy G story. So how on earth do you look at what happened there and go, we need to call Brock Purdy the guy immediately?
Not only
do you know what they could have? Do you know
Purdy.
What they could have done? They literally could have done everything that they've done so far. Sign Sam Bradford, or excuse Sam Bradford, Jesus, Sam Darnold.
Hey, I'd sign Sam Bradford.
Right?
Underrated.
They could have said, hey, we're going to make this an open competition. Open competition. And don't say a word. Don't answer questions about how everyone's doing. Just say, Brock Purdy did great last year, but we traded 3 first-round draft picks for Trey Lance, so we're going to make it an open competition. No one, Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, their agents, the fans, no one would have been like, that doesn't make sense to me. That you could have done that. And then you could have been like, Brock Purdy won week 1. And you could have let it play out.
They should have done the college football thing, Jim Harbaugh, where Jim Harbaugh plays 3 different quarterbacks to start the year, just to see, like, you get Sam gets a start, Brock gets a start, and Trey gets a start. That would be must-see television. I would love that. God, that would have been awesome. They would have been amazing.
They should have had Trey and Sam both get a full preseason game, the first 2, and then like give Brock snaps at the end. But anyways,
also, can we please cancel the preseason? As someone who just watched his team play his starters exactly 1 series, basically, great stuff all around. Glad we're doing this. Glad that that's all happening because that was great. Enjoyed it all.
I just want to wrap it up because I don't want to be the only reason we're talking or keep talking.
This is a huge story, Evan. Like this is a gigantic story. In
but
the
it's
NFL
just
right now.
like Kyle Shanahan made every single thing happen all on his own. He was the one that was like, Brock Purdy's the guy. He was the one that like was just saying, he cultivated this entire circumstance to the point where Trey Lance's agent is leaking that Sam Darnold's going to be QB2 and forcing a trade. Like, winning cures all, and Kyle is one of the best head coaches in the NFL. But I mean, the shit show isn't a requirement. It doesn't have to come with all this drama like it's some telenovela. Like, it's not needed. And now again, like always with Kyle Shanahan, it has to be a Super Bowl win or not, because it, again, like just like
I don't think it has to be a Super Bowl win. I just think they have to be contenders again and have to be contenders for the next couple years.
It's not enough to do that.
No.
Why?
You're talking about something.
You want to know why?
Hold on.
It's not
Yes.
If they're going to, if the Brock Purdy experiment ends without a Super Bowl,
I think that's just hard. I don't know. Like only one team wins. The Chiefs exist.
You want to know why it's not enough to win a Super Bowl? Not even. You know why it's not enough to make a Super Bowl? Because they've had the best defense in the league for 4 years. They've had the most talented skill position group in the NFL for damn near 2 years. And every year it's because of the quarterback that they either don't make the Super Bowl or don't win the Super Bowl.
Remember, they didn't want to give up as much as they were supposed to give up for Tom Brady. They actively decided not to go get Tom Brady.
But can't you see from Kyle's perspective where it's like obviously a 23 happened, but he basically
let me say this as clear as
Matt
possible.
Ryan to a Super Bowl. Almost got Jimmy Garoppolo to a Super Bowl, like an airmail. Like he was very, very close from having Jimmy Garoppolo and Matt Ryan both winning a Super Bowl under his watch.
A Falcons fan who watched the 28-3 collapse would understand the concept of not understanding.
But it didn't fall on Matt Ryan, is what I'm saying. You can go back through. The Super Bowl loss was not on Matt Ryan at all.
Yeah, but what we're saying is the Super Bowl loss for the Niners was on the quarterback.
Yeah, I don't. But he's also got him there. It was one throw, though, right? Like, do we still say all this if he hits Emmanuel Sanders?
Congratulations.
I don't know if do you believe any of this, or are you just
congratulations?
I do believe this.
Almost making it.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers almost.
Marv Levy.
Like you have to win. You have designed this team to win a Super Bowl now.
Yeah.
This team is talented enough to win a Super Bowl now. Every year it is win a Super Bowl. If you don't do it, like
real quick, guys, do I take Jamar Chase, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler? I have the number 3 pick.
Ooh.
Chase.
I go McCaffrey.
McCaffrey or Chase is gone, so I guess I'm taking McCaffrey.
I would go McCaffrey would scare me, but I guess I go McCaffrey.
McCaffrey scares me, trust me.
Well, the thing with Chase is Burrow's going to be out for at least like the first 4 weeks of the season because of that calf injury.
Oh, is he going to be out 4 weeks?
Well, they said like they're playing it slow. Like they're like Jamar's like, yeah, I don't want Joe coming back unless he's 100%. And the way their schedule's set up, they can kind of coast.
Is Austin Eckler going to be as dominant as he has been? Is he still?
I don't know if they're going to check it down as much. That's the thing.
I got to take McCaffrey, don't I?
Did they take a running back in the draft this past year? I feel like they did.
No.
Didn't they add someone to that room? Who else got added to that room? It's not just Eckler anymore.
I took McCaffrey. That breaks my heart.
Well, let's change gears a little bit here. So we'll see what happens. By and large, it's fascinating. I think it's going to be funny, Niners fans being angry and also just like angrily going 13-4, and they're like, "All right, well, our season, we'll figure it out in January, whether or not this is all worth it." But a fun series that we did last week that put some jaws on the floor with Bill Belichick getting fired in the middle of the year. I thought this would be fun. Obviously, no, but what if? Part 2 here. And I think y'all like this a lot, and the listeners like this a lot.